Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us at this morning finance talks with Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange and the GTI Group. And today's session is one that is very peculiar to us here at the exchange and to all our members. We will not only be focusing on gold investments on Securities and Exchange Commission licensed commodities exchange, but we'll be looking at the very first physical gold asset instruments formerly listed on any commodities exchange in Nigeria. That is the Eko Gold Coin transaction. So we'd like to welcome every single one of you from the management of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange and GTI and the GTI Group. We would like to thank you for taking our time out of your busy schedule today. Looking at our participant list, you can see that our participants are all around and they are ready. Sure that you get the best out of today's session this morning. We assure you that we would be very strict with our time because we know we have a lot of traders, we have a lot of brokers who are not only trading on the Nigerian capital market, but on the capital market all over the world. So we can assure you that we will keep the time this morning and will give you great value for your time. Before I move on very quickly, I would just like to recognize the presence of the Managing Director and CEO of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, Mr. Akin Akeredoluwale, here with us this morning. We will be hearing from him in a few minutes. I would also like to recognize the presence of our facilitator, Mr. Olubenga. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Dr. Orwell Umunihila as well, the head of operations, Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, the COO of GTI Capital, Mr. Kende Hassan, capital market operators here present today, investors, and many dignitaries who are here with us on the call today. We would like to say thank you once again for taking out time to be part of this session. The conversation in the past few months at the capital market has been to expand the investment opportunities for investors through the commodities ecosystem. And the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange took the step to bring in gold as an asset class to the capital market during its commissioning on the 28th of July 2022. Its focus on gold has been a very exceptional one because gold has been considered the third most valuable metal after platinum and palladium. And Nigeria has a gold reserve looking at 21.37 tons, and that was statistics given by the World Gold Council for the second quarter of this year. This shows us the capacity of the Nigerian gold sector and the Nigerian gold ecosystem. So we are all well aware that this sector has been facing a series of challenges ever since mining started in 1913. From the Civil War to a full focus on the oil industry, to insecurity, to lack of data, lack of information, and the lack of financing. A structured commodities exchange through its members, its issuing houses, its advisors, and the entire capital market and the Securities Exchange Commission is looking at how to bring in structure, how to bring in transparency, how to bring in price discovery into the Nigerian gold sector. And that is what we will be discussing this morning. My name is Nkechi Obi. I'm the Corporate Affairs Officer for Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, and I am also in the Operations Department, and I will be your host this morning. Without any further ado, I'm going to lead us into the next session by inviting the Managing Director and CEO of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, Mr. Akeredoluwale, to give his brief opening remarks and tell us why LCFE and its members like GTI are paying a close focus in this space and the next steps that the exchange and its members will be taking to develop this space. Mr. Akin Akeredoluwale, the floor is yours, and we are ready to hear from you this morning. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Sorry that I'm off location and I'm not in Lagos, but I'm very, very happy to be part of this training program. And I'm hoping that everybody can hear me clearly. And the pictures too is a little bit very clear. You're welcome to this training program today. Gold is an asset class that's #1 in the whole world. And this is an asset class that we work on every day by walking on the road and is underground. And there is an asset class most institutions in the world, most countries in the world have used in stabilizing their economies. They've used them in stabilizing their growth. They've used them in securing good transactions. If you know the beginning of the dollar, you'll understand that at the beginning, the dollar was backed by gold before it became a fiat currency. Now, this is an asset that we have in large quantities in Nigeria. Now, we're talking about 20 million tons in Nigeria. Now, what are we trying to do by participating in this particular asset class? The first thing that the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange has done is, first of all, defining what a commodity should be. When you hear commodities, the perception always is that commodity is about agriculture alone. We've been able to redefine that commodity is not only about agriculture, it's about solid minerals, about crude oil, and it's even about currency. And I'm very happy that today we are discussing the Eko Gold Coin today. What is the essence of the Eko Gold Coin that we're discussing today? First of all, the Securities and Exchange Commission has given Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange a license to trade gold bullion that has 24, which is 24 carats, which is almost about 99.99% purity to trade. And Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange has this quality of gold to be traded. Later, you will hear part of the speaker speaking about gold as a hedging instrument, gold as a #1 currency, gold as a #1 investment assets. Now, for us to be able to participate in this space very well, for people to be able to diversify their portfolios, for people to be able to speak to their investors, their clients, their shareholders, that this is an asset class that we never thought was in place, that we should start diversifying our portfolios to have some. You have the fund managers there, you have the asset managers that are doing the same. Currently, most asset managers that are participating in this space believe that if you're going to buy gold, you have to be able to buy gold outside Nigeria. But what we've done is that we've brought gold to Nigeria. We've brought gold to the exchange, and we have showed gold to people, the real gold bullion to people, and it's available. You'll be taken through the process for how it's going to be stored, how it's going to be traded, the pricing mechanism, where it is sourced, and the reality of the fact that this is an asset class as in Nigeria. On a lighter side, welcome everybody for this training program, because I'm supposed to give you a very brief remark. I met one of the major stakeholders in Nigeria in the finance industry in the evening of the gold. And he saw the pictures of the gold, and he said that, are these in Nigeria? I said, yes. Are you sure? I said, yes. And at the end of it, he still did not believe. He just shook his head and walked away and said that, let me see some of it later. Well, if he can see that level and the level of his sophistication, I think one of the things that we need to know today, for people here today, is that the gold that we have is real. And it is real bullion. And it is 24 carats. And it's a proper gold coin that can trade and settle through the structure that is available that will be discussed today with you, through your daily member firms. So you're welcome today. Please take your time, digest the information, be an early riser, be an early partner, and be an early partaker of this gold. When we opened this gold, we opened at 39,000 naira per gram. I think it's trading at 45,000 per gram now. And in the global market, gold is trading within the range of about 55,000 per gram to about 57,000 per gram. It's an asset class that you should look at. I wish you guys a very, very useful deliberation today, a very useful training program today. And I hope that you'll be able to get a lot of knowledge and put it to use to stabilize your portfolios, to stabilize your Nigeria, your country, and to stabilize whatever we need to do in the future. You're welcome today. I thank everybody very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for that call to action. The gold is selling at 45,000 naira per gram, which means that it is affordable for so many people in Nigeria. And like Mr. Tegule said, it is time for all of us to get on board and drive this space. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring up another great man who has been instrumental to the development of the Eko Gold Coin and the gold investment asset class on Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. He is the group head, the Agri Finance and Solid Minerals, Sterling Alternative Finance. Prior to his appointment in this position, he was the divisional head, agribusiness, natural resources, and project development Heritage Bank. And he's had up to 20 years banking experience and has ascended to senior management level. And he's a professional member of the CIBM, that's the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, as well as the Institute of Bankers in Scotland. He is presently a transaction advisor to so many commodities exchanges in Nigeria on agriculture and solid minerals, like the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange and the Gawa Commodity Market. So I'll bring to you very quickly Mr. Olubenga Awe. Please take over. He'll be handling the Eko Gold Coin, the creation of a new asset, and that's the journey to the listing of this coin. Thank you, Mr. Benga. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nkechi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, MD. My name is Bengawe. I currently work with Sterling Bank. I will be speaking on the journey so far, the creation of a new asset class, which is Eko Gold Coins. This will be the outline of my presentation. Okay. We talk about Eko Gold Coins. It's important to go down the memory lane to speak to how did we get to what we did on July 28th on the floor of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, where the Eko Gold Coins was launched by essentially the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The journey started from Osun State, to be precise, Ilesha, where the gold was sourced. In the course of this presentation, we share what it is in terms of provenance, the reserve in the country, and how we can really diversify.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. The way it works, because it's important to go back to the basics, is before we got to the coins, the Eko Gold Coins that was launched, it's important to go down the memory lane. The product was sourced through alluvial mining in Ilesha. Ilesha has been one of the states with very good deposits in Nigeria. The gold veins actually come all the way from Sokoto. If you are quite familiar with the map of Nigeria, we trace it from Sokoto down to Kebbi State, to Kaduna, straight to Niger, to Kogi, Kwara, down to Osun State, then it enters the tributaries. So the product was sold from Ilesha State miners, then we have the junior miners, then we have the alluvial miners, and we have the big companies, the likes of Shegilola, that's Store Exploration. So what we've done is to be able to bring the small scale miners into the former economy, to support them with equipment so they can increase their production from about 5 kg to 10 kg. So the product was sourced, it was smelted. Now, the other challenge is how do we take it out of the country? Because Nigeria, as we know, currently there is no refinery in Nigeria that can refine your gold to what is called fine gold. Fine gold is the gold that is 99.99 purity, which is 24 carats. We currently don't have that facility in Nigeria. So working with Lagos and working with SCFE, we are working with Emirates Cargo, because it's important. Gold is not something you can toy with. It's delicate, it's extremely expensive. So it's important your chain of custody must be perfect. know your customer, know your client's customer must be well proven. There are a lot of regulatory compliance you need to work with. There's what we call OECD, Guideline for Responsible Sourcing of Precious Metal. There's also working with the entities where we refine this gold. There's what we call gold delivery standard. Then for export gold, so you can go and refine it. You need to engage with regulators. So you need to engage with custom in payment of royalties. You need to engage with the Ministry of Mines and Steel in terms of doing the necessary assay. You need to engage with NIMA in terms of the credit of SCFE, because one of the best refining companies in the world, in the Middle East, for them to do the refining and meet. Because if your gold is not fine gold, the challenge will be how do you do the pricing? So the gold was refined from, in Ilesha, you probably be getting up to 97.46% in terms of purity. And in some other locations in the country, you will probably be getting less than that in terms of purity. So Ilesha gold comes with very high purity. That's almost 23.46 carats. So in Ilesha, you have your silver and gold. You won't have any other component. In some locations, you will probably be getting lead. In some locations, you have copper in the mix. But Ilesha gold is strictly gold and silver. So that was refined and it was minted. So the other challenge is, okay, for us to create this asset class, what are we going to trade in 1 kg bar? Are we going to do 50 kg? Are we trying to do 20 kg? Because of this presentation, I will show the figure of what we finally decided to do. So 50 grams was done, so that can cater to not the big boys, but it can cater to diverse investors. Then the other challenge is voting, because gold is money. It's actually dollar because it's priced in dollar anyway. So the challenge is voting. How do you vote this precious metal? Number one, so that it will not allow for switching. I always tell people, if you give me my gold and I blink, I must do the necessary testing again to be sure that there's no swapping. So currently, we're working with them to provide voting services. Now we talk about depository, because if you want to trade in this gold, it's not that you'll be taking your bar all everywhere. No, you need to come up with what is called a safekeeping receipt, which is SKR. So it's a safekeeping receipt, the physical one that will be dematerialized, that will now become an electronic receipt that is going to be traded on the floor of the exchange. Then you have exchange there, which is SCFE, then the trading proper can commence. So what we've done in the course of bringing this asset class to bear is to first identify the source, establish the provenance, which I mentioned from Mushroom State, make sure you have the necessary KYC. It took us about 6 weeks to pass the necessary KYC. If you have dealt with refiners before, you know that they don't joke with KYC. You need to be in full compliance with all the anti-money. You need to show compliance with the fact that you are not using child labor. You need to do the necessary KYC. So it took them about 6 weeks to be able to establish this. In our space from Sterling Bank, our focus is primarily to make sure that whatever is going on currently is formalized, so that we can have a structured approach to this. Now I talk about commodity exchange. Well, today this session is organized by SCFE. Why commodity exchange? Because it's important to establish the fact that, okay, individual can trade in gold, they can be doing OTC, they can have a bilateral relationship. Why exchange? Why? What is the relevance of SCFE to what we are trying to do? Of course, commodity exchange is a market which provides platform. They are not market participants. They are not supposed to get in the trenches with us. Their role is to provide a platform and to provide the necessary regulation so that market participants can thrive. Contracts are created with standardized features, which thereafter become tradable instruments. The commodity traded may be for or not for delivery. Now, in terms of commodity exchange, they tend to gravitate from spot. So where we are currently with CFE, if we make sure that we deepen the spot market, the more complex derivatives, instruments, and contracts can come on board. Again, in 2009, they show more than 70 benefits. The categories of benefits include price discovery and transparency. I've mentioned where this product is, where we source the product from. Without coming to the exchange, you will not be able to prove provenance. So be it agricultural commodities or precious metals, if you come to the floor of the exchange, at least the chain of custody will be probably established. So if you take your product to anywhere in the world, you don't need to be afraid that you will be sanctioned by, it could be United Nations, it could be some agencies that they trace the source of your product to some shady past. No, you have your price discovery and you have your transparency. Financing of the commodity becomes readily available because if you have it in vault, banks can provide financing. I will speak more to that down the line. Then we talk about the physical trade and competitive market, and then the price risk management. But however, the benefits are not assured. As we know, Lagos Commodity Exchange, they've been around. I think they were established in 2019. It is not easy to set up an exchange. Before then, we have Abuja Commodity Exchange. They've not done much. It's not that they didn't want to, but it's extremely difficult to set one up to make sure that it's thriving. So session like this is extremely important in terms of capacity building, in terms of showing people that there's an alternative asset class where investors can put in money and they reap the benefits of their investment. Harm can be done if key risks are addressed. I will speak more on that as we. So now let's bring it home. SCFE, as I mentioned, it got an operating license June 14, 2019. Of course, the SRO, that's self-regulatory organization, they're equally regulated by Securities and Exchange Commission as a capital market operator. They focus on 4 asset classes: agricultural commodities, solid mineral, but oil and gas, currency. But the focus of this presentation today will be on gold. So we talk about gold trading in Nigeria. The data we have, as also validated by Afrexim, we have 200 million ounces of gold in the country. And as at 9:30 this morning, I checked the price of gold on international market is trading at $1,688. Nothing is guaranteed. So what that means is for you to convert this to what it means to be 1 kg, so what you need to do is to multiply by 32.15. So you can get about maybe a $55,000 per kg. That is what the price is. But I'm sure some of my colleagues that will be coming on board will speak to the pricing mechanism for gold on SCFE. As a country, it's important to talk about diversification of our economy. I remember when we wanted to go into this with SCFE, the challenge was, where do we go and refine the gold? We met a couple of foreigners. They were even telling us that it will be difficult for us to achieve what we set out to achieve because we need to come to them. We need to get the necessary clearance. They need to be the one to validate our gold. And we said, no, not that we are a bunch of nationalists, but it's important for us to start telling our story. You remember Chinua once said, until the lions have their stories, the history of the hunt to refine hunter. So we said, no, we refine this gold, we trade it on the floor of SCFE to achieve that. We are talking about diversification of our economy. There are a lot of geopolitics at play. You need strength of character and a lot of tenacity to be able to get that done. They even told us as far as possible, as far as they are concerned, we need to go to South Africa, that we can, and we need to put stamp of an entity of what we want to do. No, this is Eko Gold. It will bear the trademark, the food of Nigeria, and that is what we'll be able to achieve. The Nigerian commodity sector is largely inefficient, unorganized, but potentially lucrative. If I might digress a little bit, last year the data from companies speak to national commodity. Nigeria exported gold of $85 million, but we look around, we having bets, and is gold. At 2018, gold $679 million was exported of the country. 677 million went to ERA. Okay. So if $679 million worth of gold was exported out of the country. By the way, that data, we didn't get it in Nigeria, we got it abroad. It speaks to the dysfunctional nature of this sector. But with the coming on board of SCFE, they can be able to track trade. The government will get its due in terms of tax. All the market participants will benefit because we start having it. Then we can bring on international players in the sector, because currently the sector is extremely different. So we are glad that board with SCFE. Then talk about Nigerian international solid minerals commodity is grossly insufficient. Space, as group head of Agric and Solid Mineral in Sterling, every day I get requests from people. They've discovered lithium. They've signed off a sign-off agreement. They've discovered tungsten in South Kaduna. There's barrage somewhere. There's zinc. There's lead. If you go as far as to ask, do you have your competency person CPR report? They will tell you, no, Venga, come. There's lithium here. Come and see. But that is not bankable. So we believe with the exchange, those structures will start coming on board, so that an entity who has invested in CPR reports can come on, list their agreement, and they can stream contact. They can do a lot in this space. And this justifying the establishment of a good trading investment class in order to the solid mineral sector. And last year, people were touting Bitcoin as digital, but we see what happened to that asset class today. I was sharing my experience with someone last week that the hottest stock on NGX today, Nigerian Exchange Limited, just me, you know what it is. Let's pick one of the techs for a that is trading very high. Everybody is happy. They are paying dividend. They are paying final dividend. They are to tank. The Minister of Digital Economy to announce there's another 5 million users who do not have NIN, and government is coming after them. That stock, what is going to happen is that stock is going to dip. All it takes to tank a very robust shares now with Eko is to announce that we have maybe 5 million Nigerians without NIN, and that stock is going to tank. Gold does not, as an asset class, it can lose value maybe anytime the Fed, when they increase interest rates and the yield in treasuries is okay, gold will go down a little bit. But the value of gold has been steadily over time. If you plot the graph, it's been a natural hedge against inflation. It's been steady in its approach. And the only time gold has lost value consistently was during the era of Mansa Musa, that ruler, when he was traveling to Mecca in 1324. That was the only time, because if you check his investment in today's currency, you've probably been in the era of 400 billion. He started as the richest man ever lived. That was in 1324, long time ago. So gold has always been an asset class that has been able to weather the vagaries of investment climate. Then the previous absence of a listed gold investable instrument on commodity exchange limit export potentials. So what you see today is, from time to time, if you read the newspaper, they will tell you there's a private jet fly out of the country with gold, this, that. But we believe with the coming on board of SCFE, we can put structure in place. We can do the right thing in this space. So what are the risks? Because I've said so much about the benefits. Nothing is guaranteed, nothing is given. We talk about opportunity cost. Every naira invested in vaulted gold could be invested in passive instruments that earn interest or pay dividend. Of course, that's correct. I've mentioned, nobody is saying you should diversify your portfolio into gold. No, what we are saying is hold a portion of your asset class in gold, so you can hedge against, it's a natural hedge against inflation. The mitigant, as I mentioned, is we are not saying you should put all your eggs in one basket. No. Then liquidity risk. Unlike a stock, vaulted precious metal take time to withdraw. No. What we've done is, and I'm sure one of my colleagues will speak to that, gold, we are not talking about bringing physical gold to trade on the exchange. There's what we call safekeeping receipts That's the electronic receipt that is going to be traded on the floor of the exchange. The counterparty risk. It's important that the contract we have all the counterparty are on board, and that's the beauty of doing this through the commodity exchange. We have the assayer, we have the logistic provider, we have all the agents on board to make sure that what we are trading is real, your good exists, and the value, it speaks to the value that they claim to be. As of today, to the best of my knowledge, what we are trading will be 99.99 24 carats. So what is Sterling Bank partnership with SFE? We are the settlement bank, and we are also the receiving bank. We will provide market making, and we'll be the market maker so that we can provide liquidity to the market, and we can work around the two-way quotes. We will use safekeeping receipts so that whatever is traded, you are very much, you are sure that the asset exists, it's in our vault, and you can trade on you can trade the SKR. We will provide access, we can uptake if need be. Then through our experience, we provide transaction advisory services. Then, as a matter of fact, we have a lot of miners in our book that we are currently financing. So in terms of throughput to the market, we are in a good stage to provide constant throughput to the market. These are pictures of the coins. You can see the Lekki Kogi bridge on one of it. Then you can see commodities, corn, or drop of crude. Then you can also see the three wise men on one of the coins. So I mentioned there's 50 grams. It could be 1 ounce, 20 grams, 15 grams. What this does is, as we're speaking to the big boys, it's also provide avenue for the little guys. So if you have up maybe your 200,000, 500,000, 100,000, there's space for retail investors to partake in this. You don't need to have millions to be a player in this space. But currently we have in store, I'm sure it's 50. So for those of us that participated at the commissioning and opening, we have this picture. Our honorable governor is there, the doyen of capital market is there, the executive commissioner, SEC is there, my humble self, the management and board of SCFE. So July 28th was a glorious day for all of us that are supporting SCFE to be able to play our role. That's my CEO, Abubakar Suleiman, the group managing director of GTI, and other participants. Okay, these are just behind the scene pictures to the evolution of the journey so far on Eko Gold Coin. You see the chairman of SCFE, the MD. We were there in UAE to make sure that we deliver top-notch products. So we use the best of the refinery to make sure that what we claim to have is what we currently have, which is a fine gold that is 99.99% in purity and is 24 carats. For us to be able to support them, we're taking toll of several countries. That's my humble self on the floor of GSC, because in putting this together, it's important to have the necessary skill set, the necessary experience. And most often than not, when you read in the newspaper, you hear story of this person was found with gold. You talk about blood diamond. So the provenance is important to be able to ensure that you do what is called responsible sourcing of precious metal. It's important to prove the provenance. It's important to have the necessary chain of custody. It's important to be able to prove that you are above, when it comes to AML, anti-money laundering regulations, you are top-notch, so that when you take the coin and you can say this is Eko Gold Coin, what you are seeing, no matter the torchlight they put to bear on it, it stands the test of time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's my presentation.
Very much, sir, for a job well done. We ask that you please stay behind because we'll have questions at the end of all the presentations. So for those asking about the recording, a link to the recording will be shared with everyone at the end of the session. Thank you, Mr. Gbenga Awe. Provenance, price discovery, transparency, structure, and affordability for the retail investors. That is what we are bringing with Eko Coin and Elisha and Nigeria to the world. That is very good to know. Elisha having one of the highest purity level of gold anywhere. So we're seeing that there's a lot in store for Nigerians in this gold space, and we just all need to put our hands in because there are so many opportunities available for us. Moving very quickly in the interest of time, I'd like to bring up the COO of GTI Capital, He is a professional with a knack for settling and implementing corporate strategy, and is a finance expert with almost 2 decades of solid experience in investment banking, corporate finance, advisory services, and securities dealing. And he has successfully originated and anchored major landmark transactions involving capital raising, mergers, and acquisitions. And he's a dealing member of the Nigerian Exchange Limited and the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. And you would like to know that he was the very first broker to trade on the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. So please let's welcome Mr. Kehinde Hassan to handle investing in Eko Gold Coins, an alternative investment asset class on Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. Over to you, Mr. Hassan. You have 20 minutes there.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nkechi, for that introduction. And I must commend Benga, aware of Sterling Alternative Finance, for making my job very easy. I think he has spoken to the various value chains in this presentation. So, having said that, let's look at how do we invest in gold. Gold, just like Benga has mentioned, there's no other metal like gold. No other metals or mineral resources measure up to gold. Gold is always in its finest form. It is shining, metallic, and it can be used for different purposes because it melts easily into bars, and of course, as a store of value, it does not rust, it doesn't corrode, and it doesn't decay. Research has shown that across the globe, the gold that we have in circulation, about 78% of them are used for jewelries, 12% balance of 10%, to create financial assets for purpose of executing financial transactions. So that speaks to the power of gold. It is usually yellow in color. It is malleable. It is ductile. It has a very strong conductivity. It's a good conductor of heat, and it has other invaluable features that makes it to command a huge respect among other metals. Benga mentioned that the coins that we have today is 50 gram, and across the international market we are usually familiar with ounce. So for purpose of our understanding, 1 ounce is about 28 gram, and then at a melting point of 1064 degrees centigrade. So Benga has spoken to where we can find gold in Nigeria and the uses and the relevance of it. Now let's look at if you want to trade on the Eko Gold coins that we have today. We have different stakeholders within the ecosystem. Of course, our exchange platform is Lagos Commodity and Futures Exchange. That is the only exchange in Nigeria that has the structure to trade gold, in form of Eko Gold coins. Even with plans to bring other coins on board as we deepen the market. So in that ecosystem, we have brokers that will facilitate exchange activity across the platform of the SCFA. So the Eko Gold coins, the issuer is SCFA TradeNet, that has facilitated the refining, mining, and everything about the coin, into Nigeria. The MDCO mentioned that the coins exist. Of course, we saw that at the launch of July 28, where the governor of Lagos State was present. So of everything, and of course, we have the settlements. These are the various stakeholders in the ecosystem that in fact are trading of oh, I'm sorry, connection. Okay, I was speaking to the various stakeholders in the ecosystem that we have the vote manager as well. That's where the Sterling Alternative Finance stands. So with all of these, it shows that we have the structure, to trade gold effectively on the floor of SCFE. So the gold in question is a 50 gram coin. We have about 58 of them that were part of those that were launched on July 28th. It is about a 30 in the it's a feature that is the popular statue of the white cap ships of Lagos. We have the Lekki Kogi Link Bridge and the that can be traded on the floor of a SCFE. The coin in itself depicts the. So how do we determine the price of gold? I'm talking about the pricing of the gold. That in arriving at the price methodology, we looked at the manufacturing cost, we look at the handling cost, the packaging, insurance, with other logistics that Benga mentioned in his presentation, and the gold coin in question is a 50 gram, and the contract size, like it was mentioned, is a 1 gram. So if you buy a gram of the coin, you'll be issued relevant documents that as evidence of ownership of these coins. So 1 gram, you can buy a lot of 1 gram, at different time. But if you buy 50 gram, or if you buy up to 50 gram, that's as a cumulative of 50 gram, if you so desire, at this point, you can have the delivery of the gold. Maybe you want to have a feel of how the gold looks like. But essentially, if you buy the gold, it's supposed to remain in the custody of the vault manager. So, but if you want to take delivery and you take responsibility for whatever happens thereafter, you need to buy up to 50 gram. But for the retail investors, 1 gram, a lot of a gram is available in the market. The pricing is a function of the LBMA price, just like I said that in the morning. Of course, at the last take, the price was about 1,690. So, and based on that, we put a markup to cover all the logistics costs that were mentioned initially. So, over the period up till 14th of September, the gold has been trading between in range of 46,000 naira. On September 14, it was 46,347. That's the close price. On September 13, about 46,630. September 12, it was 46,316, and then down to yesterday, up to September 8, 46,020 naira. So if you check that, you see that it has been trading in range of 46,000. And you recall that the MD said the international price is around 55,000 naira if you do all the conversion. So to buy the gold is very simple. Just meet with your stockbrokers. DTI is one in this distance. Identify your objective of what you want to do. Ensure that you have a patient source of finance. So contact. So ensure that you have established your source of finance, and contact DTI to place your order. Just like we do for other securities. So you open an account, and an account will be created for you that will meet the custody of the CSCS. So you fill your mandate form, and the gold is traded for you, subject to the man you place with your stockbrokers. So once that is done, you have the safekeep receipt that will be issued. Like I said, if you buy a gram, you have the relevant documents attributed to you, including your contract note. But if you want to take delivery, you buy up to 50 gram. So what do I do with the gold after buying? Of course, you can do a lot with it. You have a price appreciation to enjoy. As the price moves up, you can take a divestment decision. And we have said that what you are paying for is what you get. If you say what we have today is a 24 karat gold 99.99 purity, that is what you get. Some are of opinion that they can take the gold to goldsmith to melt it into different forms for other ornamental use. That is possible. But if you take ownership of your 50 gram, then the risk associated with the custody, reside in you. So that is the flow for buying or trading of the 50 gram gold on the floor of SFA. Let me stop here and entertain other question. My apologies for the inconsistency in the network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful session. No other metal like gold. And we see your questions coming in, and there's going to be a section for that right after the last two presentations. So moving very quickly, we'll be moving on to the commodities exchange side of things. We've heard about the journey so far. We've heard about the transaction dynamics, and now we're moving on to the exchange portion of this session. So very quickly, I'd like to bring up the head of operations, Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, who holds a PhD in business administration and has a career that blends both the public and the private sector. He also has an MBA with a specialization in finance and banking, and a postgraduate diploma in finance and banking from the University of Nigeria. He has been an assessor and an examiner in derivatives with the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, and that's CIS professional exams for the past going on 7 years now. And he is a member of the Education Committee as well as the Curriculum Subcommittee of CIS. And he is the head of operations of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange from its inception. So please let's welcome Dr. Orwell Hila to take his session this morning. Doctor, over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. As Nkechi has done the formal introduction, my role, I want to start. I want to start by thanking the previous presenters and thanking all of you for coming on board this morning to listen to us. It's all these are efforts to ensure that we diversify the market, that we get you enough, that will give you enough knowledge to start off trading on the commodities market. And my role today is to, in all these, my role is to expatiate on the role of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange and the process of buying, selling, and delivery of gold coin on the exchange. And that's basically my role. The Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, as a condition before we were licensed, had to provide a set of rules. And just like any other exchange, we have the trade rules that specifies the process of admission, quotation, suspension, and removal of exchange traded commodity contracts, notes, and instruments from the official list, on the official list of the LCF. Any company, and these rules specify not just the admission, but equally attached to the rules are the onboarding processes and the listing requirements of the exchange. Any company applying to admit its exchange traded commodities, exchange traded contracts, notes, and instruments on the exchange must comply with the rules and the listing requirements of the exchange. And the exchange, or as a matter of fact, has the discretion to waive some of these rules, depending on how the exchange assesses and evaluates the company that wants to list these instruments on the exchange. And so the exchange retains absolute discretion as to who to evaluate, and after the proper evaluation, as to what waiver to give to any of the issuers that might come on the board. Next slide, please. So these are some of the instruments, but these rules are based on basic principles which the exchange has listed. It's based on their application for listing and must be sponsored for listing and onboarding of any of the contracts or any of the notes or any of the instruments must be sponsored by a dealing member firm registered with the exchange. And it's expected that all those instruments, the traded products, commodity notes, certificates, and notes that are to be listed on the exchange must have been approved by the commission, by the Securities and Exchange Commission. As at the moment, the exchange has 13 commodities, or what you might call products, that have been approved by the commission. And of the 13 commodities, we have 12 that are agricultural commodities, and one that is solid mineral, which is gold, which is our present topic of discussion and focus. And that's why all efforts have been made to ensure that we present products on this thing. And Eko Gold Coin is one of them. There are other products on gold asset class that will be coming up from time that will be coming up very soon. Some issuers will come up with different listing, and that's why we're expanding on this. We're explaining these things so that new issuers and potential issuers will know what the conditions are and what the listing requirements are. So, and at the same time, all notes, all contracts, and all instruments that must be traded must have been registered with the CSD, that's Central Securities Depository. And at the moment, the only Central Securities Depository the exchange has is CSCS PLC, which is very common to us. Because these instruments must be registered with CSCS because they will be traded on dematerialized form, and so the CSCS requires their own. The CSCS has their own requirements, their own registration requirements, and any of the issuers must comply with such requirements. And application for listing must also pass through the listing and quotation committee of the exchange. As a matter of fact, all issues of onboarding, all issues of listing of contracts, notes, instruments of the exchange must pass through the listing, the evaluation of the listing and quotation committee. There are processes, and all those processes are defined in our listing requirements and on onboarding processes, which at inquiry from the exchange you can get. Once you have interest in listing any contract or any note on the exchange, you can get such requirements. You can get it from us, posted to you, and some of them are even listed on our website. So it's very clear that the listing and quotation committee meets and advises you and interviews you and evaluates you on the basis of what the intents are, what the products are, the quality and everything. And at the end of the day, they will give the approval or non-approval. And it's also based on the principle that a company must satisfy for the listing and quotation committee, and for it even to be approved, the company must satisfy minimum standards of quality, minimum standards of level of operations, governance issues, so as specified in the listing and quotation committee, in the listing and requirements of the exchange. The exchange traded commodities and the listing shall only be listed upon the establishment of sufficient investment interest. It said, equally, there is no sense in listing a contract, a note, or an instrument if there will be no buyers. Because for a transaction to take place, there must be the demand, and the demand must be there, and the supply must be there. So the issue of demand is of paramount importance. There must be a test run or an investigation by the exchange and the listing and quotation committee to know whether such instrument, when listed on the exchange, when listed on the exchange, will attract the interest of investors and to meet up the demand side. And of course, just like I've said before, a company must disclose a certain level of governance compliance and governance codes that to be able to pass through the listing and quotation committee of the exchange. Timely disclosures of information must be of especially those ones that will affect the price and value of the company's products must also be disclosed at the, by the issuer. So onboarding of spot contracts, where for spot contracts, that's in terms of commodities like paddy rice, sorghum, and all the rest of them, spot contract on them, and even the gold spot contract to aggregators who intend to trade commodity spot contract through our platform must be onboarded, and there are certain requirements that they must comply with before they are onboarded. In broad terms, registration of dealing member firms, and introduction and onboarding of issuer to the exchange, review and approval of onboarding by the Commodities Listing and Quotation Committee, and onboarding of issuer with the depository and the CHN numbers. These are a rehearsal of what I have said before, that these the onboarding of aggregators must be sponsored by dealing member firms, and they must comply with the onboarding requirements, and then they must pass through the Listing and Quotation Committee, and so also they must go through the CSCS, that's the CSCS, which is the CSD that the exchange has as our CSD. So these are some of the next slide. So a lot of there are steps for onboarding of aggregators on the platform of exchange. The broker, first of all, conducts the necessary, just like Mr. Hassan has said, the broker would first of all conduct the necessary KYC on the aggregator, and the broker registers the aggregator with CSCS to obtain clearing housing number, and then the broker ensures that aggregator satisfies the listing requirements of the SCFE, and which of course includes the listed on the screen here, the company profile, certificate of incorporation, and on. These are basic requirements which can be forwarded to any of the potential issuers or aggregators, as the case may be, when they are required. So this I will not continue to rehearse them. Then onboarding of spot listing, copy of self-keeping receipts with full value of metal, that is for gold, to be onboarded, and then license to possess and price. This is specifically for gold aggregators. License to possess and purchase minerals, small scale mining license, mineral buying center license, mineral export permit, reconnaissance permit, exploration license. These are for a potential aggregator of gold or generally solid mineral asset class. Because at the moment, the only product we have under the solid mineral asset class is gold. But as we go on, other products will come on board, where there be possibility of trading silver, there be possibility of trading other popular minerals that will be. So these are specifications for onboarding of spot contracts for aggregators of solid minerals. Then the broker would ideally introduce the aggregator to the exchange through an introduction and the submission of documents sent in by the aggregator to the exchange for review, and then the Listing and Quotation Committee. The Listing and Quotation Committee has its own set of requirements, which are the things they seek when they interview the listing, and it is the broker that presents the issuer to the Listing and Quotation Committee and stands by the aggregator or the issuer to explain certain things that have to do with compliance issues. And these are at the meeting of the Listing and Quotation Committee. And it is the exchange that schedule such meetings. Next slide. So on the approval, once the approval is made by the Listing and Quotation Committee, the aggregator is onboarded on our platform. And then once it's onboarded on our platform, the issues of registration with CSCS starts, the issues of compliance with our own trading rules starts. And then eventually, once that is done, and the broker will now take up the mandate to either sell for the aggregator and trade matching engine. We have our trade matching engine. Go back to the other slide. Go back to the other slide. Yes. So there are certain documentations that are required. One is that the selected transaction advisor on behalf of the issuer files different requirements, assessments by the SCFE Listing and Quotation Committee in line with the rules of the exchange, and such commodity instruments listing requirements, registration requirements, commodity instrument noting requirements. There are rules that we have for all these rules for commodity instruments listing registration documents, and commodity instruments noting registration requirements. I saw a question there that, let me just go listed, that one of the listeners put up as to wanting to know who is an aggregator. An aggregator is just a wholesale trader of any of the commodities, either on the agricultural or under agricultural asset class, or on the solid minerals class. So these aggregators are the ones that aggregate from the for agricultural commodities from the rural farmers. They aggregate, say for instance, cocoa, and then aggregate them in large quantity, because an ordinary farmer cannot sell cocoa 1 bag or 2 bags on the exchange, but the aggregator aggregates in volumes of metric tons, puts them in the warehouse for certification purposes, for as saying, and at the end of the day, warehouse receipts are issued, and it is those warehouse receipts that are traded that are transmitted to the broker and are traded on the exchange. These are some of the processes that go, and so that is what an aggregator is. So onboarding commodity instrument registration and quotation processes, that these are the processes the transaction advisor does to ensure that he packages the transaction for both the Listing and Quotation Committee approval, and once that is approval, for trading, and then it goes on to the broker for trading on the exchange, depending on the mandate of the issuer to the broker, and of course the mandate of the buyers to their own buying brokers. So those are some of the things. So we have quotation, then the process of the flow of the buying and the selling. The aggregator deposits for gold, for instance, this is for solid mineral spot in this case. For gold, for instance, the aggregator deposits this in the vault, deposit the gold in the vault, or the solid mineral item in the vault, and that is after assaying and certification have been done. And then once this is deposited in the vault, the SKR is issued, and that SKR is issued to the aggregator. The aggregator, if he intends to sell, will now instruct his dealing member firm, which is the seller, to sell for him, and that is done on the trade matching engine of the exchange, which is at the center here, the screen. The trade matching engine the dealing member firm goes with his broker to the exchange, or through trades from his office through the VPN, the online trading system, and trades in his office for the exchange. Whereas at the same time, to consummate a transaction, just like I've said before, the buyer or the investor or the buyer would have given a mandate to his own buying dealing member firm to buy for him. So who will equally send his broker to the exchange or from his office to key in his mandate to buy for him. And once that is done, once that a price is reached, and maybe, for instance, as we are seeing now, for instance, for gold coin, 46,000 naira for 1 gram, and that agreement is done between the two brokers to consummate the trade. That trade is consummated, and it passes down through the CSCS, and it passes down through the CSCS to the settlement bank through NIPS, and the account of the aggregator, who is the selling agent, is credited, while the account of the buyer, who is the buying agent, who is the account of the buyer in his bank, is debited. So, and it takes the nature of even what happens in the equities market, which is very common to us, is well known to us. But the only difference is that the commodities differ. Now we are talking of commodities. We are not talking of shares. We are talking of commodities. We are talking of gold in this case. That's the actual listing. So this is the buying and the selling process of the exchange. Thank you very much. So, well, the different roles, the assayer, which does the certification of the certification of the commodity, it's specified there. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for highlighting all the rigorous work that goes into having gold listed on the. Moving very quickly because we are almost out of time. So our last presentation for the day before the question and answer session, which will be on pricing, gold pricing on the LCF, gold pricing globally. It will be a very short session. So I'm bringing up the person in charge of listings, quotations, and broker-dealer regulations at LCFE, who has a BSc from Banking and Finance from the University of Nigeria, SUPA, and was part of the team that was instrumental in building the framework for listing instrument capital raising on Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. I bring to you very quickly this morning Mr. John Ubu.
Hi, thank you very much, Nkechi, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody here this morning. Without wasting much of our time, let's go into the presentation for today. Now we'll be discussing pricing of gold, the effective pricing of the instrument. Sorry. So now gold trading, valuation, and pricing. As we know, gold in itself is a global asset, it's a global commodity. So we here in our local environment cannot determine the price of gold. So there are benchmarks that have existed over 100 years before now that actually sit to determine the price of this gold as a commodity being traded in the UK, in the US, and in Europe. So there's a benchmark that had existed 100 years ago, the gold fixing price benchmark in London. They sit down every day, 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m., and 3 p.m. to determine the price at which gold be traded in the spot market. First in London, but because of the effectiveness of their structure and their model, it was adopted globally. So today, as at while they were still operational, they were the ones responsible for the price of gold on a daily basis. But in the year 2015, the Intercontinental Exchange Benchmark Administration, the IBA, were appointed to oversee the administration of LBMA gold prices. Now, gold prices are determined on an auction basis every day. So before Intercontinental Exchange was appointed, the gold pricing and gold fixing pricing benchmark have a model where all members, about 5 of them, sit down every day to determine the price of gold with respect to the factor that determines the prices they fix gold at every day is demand and supply. So once they all converge at a point where the demand meets the supply, they agree and set the gold price for that particular day in the morning at 10:30. They come back in the evening and do the same. But in 2015, a new method was adopted, which is where the IBA came in. And with the adoption of modern technology, so these auctions are now done in real time by LBMA certified members, and they determine the price which gold and its instruments are traded on any exchange anywhere in the world. Now, what factors determine the price of gold globally? As mentioned earlier, we have demand and we have supply. Demand from the manufacturing sector, those that are involved in jewelry production, the electronic guys, medical appliances and manufacturing industry. So those guys also utilize a huge amount of gold in their production processes. Because government and central banks demand gold to reserve, to hold, to stabilize their currencies. So if, for example, Nigeria says they want to increase their gold reserve, it might in a way not affect the price, but it depends, depending on the volume we want to hold, but a substantial amount of gold holding by a particular country can actually affect the price at which gold is traded globally. Investment demand also affects the price of gold. We know today there are modern instruments that have been introduced by investment houses, ETFs and the likes, which have gold as the underlying product. The more these products are being brought into the market, the more they are being introduced into the economy, then the more it affects the gold prices that are available globally. Supply, on the other hand, also affects the price. So if demand for any reason do not meet supply, it affects the price of gold globally. And the release of gold held in custody, most nations today hold their gold but do not release it. Even private investors hold gold in their vaults and do not tend to release them. So the more of this gold are held in the vault, in custody, and not released into the open market for trading, gold prices will definitely continue to go up. But the more they are released into the market, that supply increasing into the market, then the prices of gold will definitely coming down. Now there's currency inflation. As we know, gold goes against the dollars, and gold is a hedging tool. Now, depending on the inflation rates globally, prices of gold tend to actually increase. Now, the economy definitely is suffering some level of inflation, and gold prices, investors are looking into holding more safe tools and safe investment assets, and gold basically classifies into this. It's a hedging tool, and investors are buying and holding more of gold to safeguard their investment. So it's a portfolio that is actually on the high side now, on the trend now. People are actually putting all their investment in gold because they know, come what may, the value of that particular asset is going to appreciate over time. And gold, as we know, also has an inverse relationship with interest rates. So the higher the interest rate in an economy, then the lower the price of gold, and vice versa. Global and political factors as well affect the price of gold. We know the outcome, the effect of gold in the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And Russia who is a world power, is amongst the top 10 holders of gold. As a result, I think they're number 5 in gold reserves list. So the weight you have as a holder of gold can actually affect the price of gold once there's a crisis within your political regions. So the price, these factors basically what affect the prices of gold globally: demand, supply, currency, inflation, interest rates, and geopolitical factors. These affect the prices of gold on a global scale. But let's bring it back home. What affects the price of gold investments in Nigeria? And when we refer to gold investments here, we mean even ETFs, ETCs, exchange traded contracts, exchange traded funds, exchange traded instruments, and even gold sports contracts. What affects the prices of these instruments locally here in Nigeria? First, the international factors. Yeah, the exchange, the gold that has currently listed on the exchange is mined here in Nigeria. But whoever is going to trade it will not trade it based on demand and supply of Nigeria, demand and supply factors of Nigeria alone. They tend to mirror what they have with what the global market is doing, and most of the time they price their gold in terms of what the global market is pricing it, depending on the quality of that particular gold. So the international factor play a very huge role in pricing local investment here in Nigeria. The higher the price of gold internationally, the higher definitely is going to be here in Nigeria. And gold prices reducing substantially in the international market would, to some extent, reduce globally. So international factors play a huge role in determining the price of gold here in Nigeria. So the demand and supply is like a follow-up effect of the international factors. So because if the prices of gold in Nigeria is high, definitely, and the demand is high, it's going to lead to a hyper pricing of the particular commodity. So, and if the supply we have locally do not match this demand, we expect to see the price of gold even higher than the international community, because we have a more demand for that particular asset class. Or a situation where we have a supply of gold at the specification approved by the commission on the exchange, we should see a level of drop in the price of gold and its instruments on the exchange. So international factor plays a huge role. Demand and supply plays not so much of a major role, but they actually have an effect in the price of gold even locally. Inflation, for example, inflation has a very huge effect in the price of gold in Nigeria. The inflation here is actually quite high, and gold as a safe instrument is one of the things that people invest in to hedge against the inflation in Nigeria. So the higher the inflation, the more people demand for gold, and that affects the price of gold in the country. Now, the value of the Nigerian naira against the dollar, we are unfortunately facing a very low, the naira is falling, and the more it falls, the more expensive gold and its instruments that are listed locally will get. And we should expect, hopefully the economy tries to regulate the currency, and we should see balancing in the future. But as it stands right now, the naira value has dropped, and gold is priced in American dollar. So for every increase in the dollar against the naira, we should expect the price of gold and its instruments to also go higher. And finally, the administrative and production cost. Depending on the gold instruments you will be listing on the exchange, if you are looking to trade just bars, first they have to be minted, they have to be refined to 99.9%, which is the approved quality level that is to be traded on the LCFE. Once you do that, and as Mr. Awe mentioned, there are no refineries here in Nigeria. We're going to have to move it out of the country, refine it, then bring it back. Now, all this, you're going to incur a lot of cost doing all that. And you as a business person, you are not in the business for charity. So you have to transfer a few of those costs to those that will be investing in that instrument. So all these are factors that basically influence the price of gold that are traded locally. There are refining and there is minting for those that will be trading in coins. But for the coins that have been listed on the exchange, they were refined, they were minted, they were dikes produced for it, and they were export and import duties on that particular coins. Now, all these are the factors that affect the price for coins production. And there are also customized gold bars as well, that you have to print your company logo or whatever image you like to put on a particular instrument. All these are cost implications, and then you have to transfer those costs down to the final pricing of that particular instrument. And there is also the transaction fees of the exchange. For every exchange traded transaction, you've got the exchange's commission, the transaction advisors, all parties to the transaction, the refineries, the assayers, the collateral managers, the vault companies, SEC, the depository, and the broker, they all have to be paid. And once an aggregator that wishes to list an instrument on the exchange, a gold instrument, we have to factor in all, if not all of all this in determining the final price of your product. But what we try to do here is we try to bring back on the table the benchmark, global benchmark. If you're looking to service just the local market, well, you are free to price at which you want to price at. But if you're looking to attract international and foreign investors, there are a few considerations you have to make. First, you have to look for a cheaper process or a cheaper option for you to actually do your business. Because if you go, and we know the gold business is not a cheap business, but you just have to figure out a more effective way to incur this cost so as not to drive out investors in the market. We have the gold coins, I believe, right now at the price that has been stated by previous speakers, and they are not too far from what the global market is doing. Because if you factor in the price of refining and minting and dye production, and even the value of the value of the coin itself, the quality at which it is being produced, it is being launched into the market, you should know that it is being priced fair. And hopefully other gold instruments that are listed on the exchange wouldn't be far off from what the global market, from what the global community is doing. So for us, for those that are looking to list gold instruments on the exchange, it is very important that they get the pricing very right, because once it is right, you tend to attract the amount of investors you're looking to bring into the exchange. And for all that are looking to hold their gold that are bought, bear in mind that there are vault costs that has to be borne by the investor. So all these are implications for gold investment, so that down the line, it doesn't come out as not being a fair trade. Gold as an investment is not like the agricultural asset class or any other asset class. It is a store of value. It is money, as the MD has called it. So it's something that is worth investing. And there are 1,000,001 instruments that can be developed on any particular gold coin. So we are looking forward to having more of issuers on the exchange, and we will do all that we can to make sure that we are not priced out of the global community. Thank you, Nkechi, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, for a wonderful session. I'll ask that you please stay close by, because we're moving to the question and answer session, and I have a question that's here for you. I would just like to say to all the participants that we do apologize. We're a few minutes out of time, but I'll just request for 5 to 7 minutes for the questions to be taken. We have about 6 or 7 questions addressed to different speakers. I'll just ask that Mr. Keredulu, Dr. Orwell, Mr. Hassan, and Mr. Gbenga to please stay on standby. I will read out all the questions and the speakers that it will be directed at, and then we will take it one after the other. So the first question I have on with me is from Valentine. I don't know if that's the Mr. or Miss or Mrs. After taking delivery of the 50-gram gold coin, can it be returned for trading? So I believe this will be directed to the transaction advisor. So Mr. Hassan, please be on standby to answer while I read the other questions. Then from Chike Oboli, where can one get the price update in real time? I believe this is for the commodities exchange. So Dr. Orwell, you will take this question once it's your turn to answer. Where can one get the price update in real time? Dr. Orwell, you already answered the question from Biliatu Nashta, who asked who is an aggregator. You have answered that already, so you won't have to take that again. From Amina Ijuwade, she says, what insurance cover do investors get for this investment? I'll take it again. What insurance cover do investors get for this investment? I believe that's directed to Mr. Kende Hassan. So we have 2 questions with Mr. Hassan. And from Mrs. Miss Adesoya Hafsa, she says, can we also say that investors' behavior determine the price of gold? That is for Mr. John Ugu. Can we also say that investors' behavior determine the price of gold? And this question is for Mr. Gbenga Aware from Omaso Hamilton. He said, does gold from Nigeria and from foreign gold have the same quality, texture, and price? I'll take that again. Does gold from Nigeria and foreign gold have the same quality, texture, and value? I'll ask that we start off with Dr. Orwell's questions and then move to Mr. Hassan. There are a few more questions, but we'll start with this round of questioning. So Dr. Orwell, please, you can take over, then Mr. Hassan, then Mr. Gbenga, then Mr. John Ugu, while I compile the other questions. Dr. Orwell, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And the question is, where can they get the price of gold real time?
Yes, sir.
This can in terms of our own price, we are trying to start ensuring that we put up the price on our website each day. So each of the trading days, we can put up our price on the ending price on the website every day. We've not done that now, but because trading has just resumed, started, so many people, so many brokers have been dealing with the issue of getting registered with moving their registration to the commodity portal in CSCS. As at the moment, they are succeeding in doing that. So trading has just started, and so we would, very soon, maybe from next week, you will be seeing the prices on our website. And even if you call the dealing member firms that are registered with us and that are trading on our platform, you can get a price from them. But officially, for everybody to make it easy, we'll be placing that on our on our website every day.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know whether there's another question for me.
Oh, not yet, sir. Mr. Hassan, over to you.
Okay. I think the second question was what kind of insurance cover does one get when you buy the gold coin?
Yes.
I'm sure that question was premised on the safety of the gold coin, for a buyer. And I think that safety is guaranteed by the role of the vault manager, in the ecosystem. If you look at the stakeholder that I displayed in the presentation. So if you, after buying the gold, you have evidence of ownership by way of issuance of the SKR and other documents that your broker will give to you, for example, contract note and so on. So the gold remains with the vault manager until when you issue another mandate to sell the same coin, maybe after you must have enjoyed a measurable appreciation. So the safety is guaranteed, and the structure of the vault manager, maybe Gbenga will speak more on that, is such that all the risk elements have been properly considered and managed, based on what they what the vault manager has put in place. So that's for me on the second question. I missed the first question. I couldn't hear you very well, Keshi.
Yes, sir. The question is, after taking delivery of 50-gram gold coin, can it be returned for trading? I'm assuming if they take it away from the vault, from even the gate of the vault, of the vault premises, can it be returned for trading?
Okay, that has been considered. If you take delivery and you walk away with it, it means returning it for trading, comes with some issues. How we sure that what you are bringing back is what you took away from the vault manager. So at the moment, the understanding is that if you are taking it, you probably want to go and process it into other forms for ornamental use, like I mentioned the other time. So bringing it back at this time, the vault manager may not collect it from you, but from the engagement, we are looking at that situation. Maybe as we go into the next phase of this of the structure, that probably there will be specific features that are inbuilt into the coin, such that if you are bringing it back, just by way of a simple test analysis, the originality and other features associated with that coin will be established as the initial one that was taken away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gwenga, please.
Okay, thank you, Nkechi. I think my question speaks to the difference between Nigerian gold and foreign gold, right? I think in terms of gold, I've mentioned the gold belt, the vein in Nigeria. We also have gold in countries like DRC. We also have gold in countries like Uganda, Mali, Senegal. Gold is probably in some countries in East Africa. But the good thing is this: for your gold to be traded on Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, it must meet certain specifications, which we refer to as it must be fine gold, irrespective of the location where those gold are sourced. The way it works is this: if you want to trade it, it must meet 99.99, which is 24 carats. So whether you source from Mali, for example, or you source from Nigeria, or you source from anywhere, you need to take it to a refinery, because we are not trading in raw bars. So they need to take it to a refinery. The refinery, the way it works is they will pour everything in a mold. It will be smelted. When you get your product to a refinery, it could be 97, it could be 96, it could be 95. So when they refine, the impurities will be eliminated. You have like copper, you have like silver, it will be separated. So what comes in is now fine gold, which is 99.99, which is what is going to be traded. So in terms of quality of gold specification in Nigeria, it varies. But for it to be traded, it must be refined to that standard. So the standard is the same. So I think I've been able to answer the question. On the issue of voting that Kehinde Hassan mentioned, currently we are providing voting services to this, and the way it works is, I mentioned the chain of custody. So that means from the refinery to logistics, we are in full control, so that there is no issue around is what is being stored in our vault. Is it requires standard and specification. It's just like money. If you want to bring your money to the bank today, your money will be counted to make sure that we are not getting counterfeits. So that's the chain of custody. We follow through from refining to logistic company that will deliver straight to the vault. So when we issue the SKR, it speaks to depositors, it speaks to ownership, it speaks to purity, and it speaks to specifications. Until then, that's when the safekeeping receipt will be issued, that is going to be transmitted to the depository, and that is going to be dematerialized, and that is going to be traded.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have a flood of more questions that have come in, and I'll take them in the same manner that I took the first set. So Mr. Ugu, Mr. Hassan, Mr. Gwenga, and Dr. Orwell, please be on standby as I go through the questions. So Mr. Uche Paragon has said, this is directed at Dr. Orwell, but I believe you've answered it a bit, so you might just want to add one or two things. He said that the website is not for the pricing is not active. How can traders get the price easily from your site? Or is there an API for price data? So doctor, please note that. Then we have another question from Adesanya Hafsa. She says, what is the difference between allocated gold unallocated gold and pool gold. I believe that's for Mr. Gbenga Aware. Then Mr. Uche Paragon has said again, what is the maximum quantity one can buy? This is for the transaction advisor, Mr. Kende Hassan. What is the maximum quantity one can buy? Omaso Hamilton has said, I believe this is directed at Dr. Orwell as well. So he's here, has said, we've heard of Dukia Gold, in particular the pricing, even though it's not yet listed on Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. How will the price differ and the demand play out when we're comparing Dukia Gold and Eko Gold Coin? I'll take it again, sir. We've heard of Dukia Gold, in particular the pricing, even though it's not yet listed on LCFC. How will the price differ and how will the demand differ in when comparing Dukia Gold and Eko Gold Coin? That is for Dr. Orwell. Ismail Yusuf has asked, what is the minimum quantity of gold an investor can buy? So I believe that's for Mr. Hassan. So you have both the maximum and the minimum quantity to answer. Mr. Uche Paragon has asked again, can we say that the exchange that on the exchange is that the Eko Gold Coin transaction is only based on a spot contract, or is it spot and futures? He is saying that we can say it is only based on spot contracts, or is it spot and futures? Mr. Hassan, I believe that should be on your table as well. Then Abdul Rahman has asked, who is the trustee for this transaction? Who is the trustee for this transaction? I think that is also to Mr. Hassan as well. Mr. Michael Ayodele is saying, how do we do the calculations? If I am investing 100,000 naira, how do I know my returns? I believe that is also for Mr. Hassan. Your place is getting quite heavy, sir. Then from Chike Oboli, he says, who are the gold commodity brokers? I believe John Ubu can answer this. Who are the gold commodity brokers? Mr. Babatunde Oladejo is asking, how does an individual broker get on board to trade on LCFE? That is for John Ubu as well. How does the individual broker get on board to trade on LCFE? Abdul Rahman who asked, who is the vault manager? But I believe it's very clear from Mr. Gbenga's last conversation, but he might want to answer that again for in clearer terms so they know who the vault manager is for this transaction. Iliatu is asking again for Dr. Orwell, please can you expatiate further on the role of the aggregator? Please can you expatiate further on the role of the aggregator in the market? We also have from Mr. Hafsa. I hope I'm not taking on too much, or do we stop? We still have about 4 more questions, or do I just continue so that we just answer the questions and then we take vote of thanks at end? I think that would be better. So this is for Mr. Gbenga, even though I feel like you might have to charge this person for this question. He's saying, what are the requirements for starting a gold business? Madam Hafsa, I have to ask, do you mean to be onboarded on the exchange or just starting a gold business in general? But in the meantime, what I can see, you're saying the requirements for starting a gold business. I believe Mr. Gbenga would answer that. But if you mean to be onboarded on the exchange, John Ubu will probably touch 1 or 2 areas about that, just to have a more rounded answer. Uche Paragon is asking, do we currently have sellers that have enlisted their gold for trading on the floor of the exchange? This is for Dr. Orwell. Do we currently have sellers that have enlisted their gold for trading on the floor of the exchange? Then the very last question for the day, presently bids and offer on the trading engine for gold are not seen. I believe this is the final question and it will be for Dr. Orwell. Presently bids and offer on the trading engine for gold are not seen. Okay, even though I know the answer, I think I will just let my panelists answer that. So we have a lot of questions on the table. I think we will start with the person that has the lightest on his plate. Mr. John Ugu, you will go first, then Mr. Gbenga, then Dr. Orwell, then the man with the mountain load of questions, Mr. Hassan. So John Ugu, over to you, please.
All right, thank you very much, Gechi. I think the very first question was is good price sentimental, and to a larger extent, it's going to be on the answer is going to come in two folds: local and international. Locally, right now, we do not the investor sentiments cannot actually drive the price of gold, even though on the exchange, a 1 unit order and bid for gold can change the price of that particular gold in a particular day. So for investors that are here locally, you can actually influence the price of gold depending on whatever side of the coin you are sitting in. You can actually move the price of gold every particular day. And the global space, we know those with the huge liquidity can actually move the price of gold and in their favor. So it's more of the environment and more of liquidity. So depending on your liquidity holdings, you can actually influence, or your sentiments on our own local market is still learning. Our market, to some great extent, is still kind of speed, and until we get to that particular point where we have a developed and structured market, investors would have to stick to the rules of the assets as they play along on a daily basis. Now, who are gold commodity brokers? Fortunately for the brokers in Nigeria today, those that have a license, those that have registered on the exchange, we classify you as gold commodity brokers. You must have registered on the exchange, you must have done the KYC, you must have concluded onboarding with CSCS, and you have access to our trade matching engine. As long as you have that access to trade matching engine, you will have the access, and you must have paid in the registration category of the exchange. There is a category for solid minerals. If you register to trade just solid minerals, then you qualify to trade gold on the exchange. But if you're while you're registering on the exchange and you choose agriculture, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to trade gold. You have to update your registration to accommodate solid minerals asset class. Then you have the trading license to trade gold on LCFE. Now, how do brokers get on board? They just mentioned that you have to comply with our onboarding and registration requirements. Once you have done that and we issue you an appointment letter, then you are qualified to play on the exchange as a commodity broker for gold coins. I believe that's all, Nkechi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator. Mr. Gbenga.
Okay, once again, good morning. I've shown the role of vault manager. Currently, Sterling Bank is the vault manager, where the bank starts with the responsibility of issuing the SKR. So I think everything starts from there, because if the gold is not in place, it can't be traded. So for now, we are the vault manager. In terms of requirements for starting a gold business, is the lengthy requirement you can engage the Ministry of Mines and Steel. You need to get your SSL, small scale mining lease, exploratory lease. You need to get, for you to go into exports, you need to have your Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Good thing is you can get across to us through the exchange for one session to onboard you and to provide necessary financing. We've seen such as a store that we really need dig as a bank, are willing, ready, and able to prospective entrepreneurs in that space. In terms of third unallocated and full gold, I wouldn't want to go down into futures, contract, and options. But for us, the focus on spot, the focus, as we mentioned, along we'll be talking about spot trade.
So while we wait for Mr. Gbenga to come back, Dr. Orwell, please, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ikechi. I think I have about 3 questions here, and there's the 4th one on bid and offer. I didn't get that one correctly. So let me start with the ones I have. They want to know what, for me to dwell more on who an aggregator is. Just like I said, an aggregator is a wholesale dealer on commodity. It might be a wholesale dealer on cocoa, a wholesale dealer on soya beans, on sorghum, on gold, as the case may be. They deal in large quantity. And since the exchange, for purposes of convenience and transparency, would want a specified quantity to be deposited in the warehouse. So the exchange deals more with the aggregators. And 2, the exchange has certain requirements for the aggregators, which only the aggregators that have that kind of that meets those requirements can be allowed to trade on the exchange. So the exchange has listing requirements, which some of these aggregators, unlike ordinary farmers or small-scale dealers, these aggregators who can meet such requirements. And that's why these aggregators are registered on the exchange. Secondly, the aggregators are equally issuers in terms of maybe commodity contracts, commodity notes and other things, on even debt instruments, trying to raise capital. It is equally the aggregators who have the capacity to meet up the requirements, and of course who will need that some sort of money to beef up their operations. So these are some of the features of aggregators that might interest our listeners. So that's on aggregators. Then one of the listeners want to know what is the difference between Dukia Gold and Eko Gold Coin. Well, let me start by saying that Dukia Gold is undergoing the process of being traded or being listed on the exchange. Whereas Eko Gold Coin is now listed and is trading on the exchange. So I do know that a bit of publicity has been given to, we have given a bit of publicity to Dukia Gold. And Dukia Gold is undergoing the process of registration, listing on the exchange. But certain features, there are certain features that differ on the 2 commodities. One, Eko Gold Coin is just like its name, it's a bullion coin, and it's 50 grams. 50 grams. Whereas Dukia Gold, when finally listed, will be traded on 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram per unit. But for Eko Gold Coin, it is 50 grams per unit. So it is cheaper in terms of, because of the grammage, so to say, and Eko Gold and Dukia Gold is 1 kilogram. So those are some of the features. The second feature is that Eko Gold Coin is stored in Nigeria. So delivery can take place in Nigeria here. Now, whereas Dukia Gold will be stored, when listed, will be stored in Switzerland. So the delivery can go across, it should be an international delivery services. So those are some of the major differences. Eko Gold Coin will be is already traded on the exchange, and is traded through once you get the SKR, and it's traded on the exchange. And once you give instruction, it will be traded. So on a small scale level, for small buyers and all the rest of them. Even the Eko Gold Coin, the another difference is that the Eko Gold Coin, you can buy 1 gram of it, which is about 46,000. But for Dukia Gold, you can only buy 1 kilogram at the moment. Though as time goes on, maybe the issuers of Eko Gold, Dukia Gold might consider breaking it down to lower grams or something like that. So these are the major differences between the two asset classes. Then there's the question of are there sellers who have listed their gold on the exchange? Yes, that's why we are talking about Eko Gold Coin. It's been listed on the exchange and it's listed by TradeNet. So that's listed. So it's listed on the exchange and it's trading at the moment. So, and we're expecting that there are more sellers or more issuers that will bring their gold, bring their gold instruments or physical gold to the exchange to trade it on the exchange. And as they go through the process of registration, process of listing and all the rest of it. So that's it. And so that's so I didn't get the question on bid and offer. I didn't get that question correctly. So I believe I've answered the first 3 questions that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'll turn over to you, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Hassan, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Nkechi. The first question was the maximum quantity that one can buy in the market. Let me explain that we have 58 coins of 50 grams each. So if you multiply that, you have 2,900 grams, because we said that we can sell in a lot of 1 gram. So at the moment, if we take the ones that have been sold over time, so it means we still have about 2,400, 500, to be sold in the market. So the question is, what if that is exhausted? Of course, another batch is on the way, to meet demand as we progress in the journey of opening up the gold market space. So there is no limit to the maximum that one can buy, in as much you have the fund to support your purchase order. Now, the minimum value, that's another question, is such that you can buy as low as 1 gram. But the coins that we have today are in 50 grams each. So, and we say that if you want to take delivery, you must buy up to 50 grams. That's the physical delivery of the gold. But if you buy 1 gram, 2 grams, of course, you have receipt for your investment. So the minimum is 1 gram per order. So you can place an order for 5 grams at a time. So it depends on your financial capacity. Then the third one is how do I invest 100,000 naira? What can it buy, and what will be the returns? If you consider the last price of the gold coins, about 46,300. So it means with your 100,000 naira, you can buy as much as 2 grams. When you factor the charges for transactions, maybe you have a balance of 1,000 or 2,000 left out of the 100,000 naira, but you can do as much as 2 grams. The returns, yes, in 2 forms. If we talk of qualitative returns, at least you have diversified your investment, from the traditional financial instruments into solid mineral and of course gold, for that matter. So probably you want to use it to hedge your investment. You want to use it to hedge inflation. You want to use it for other purposes. So, but in terms of quantitative, you know that it is a function of demand and supply in the market, you know, that drive the price of the gold and among other factors. So we had when the MD said that the international price is about 55,000 naira, and we are seeing the current price in Nigeria today is about 46,300 or maybe 500 naira. So once there's there's a rally in the market, you know, you can measure your level of appreciation and then decide whether to hold or to divest, depending on your risk appetite. So I think I've attended to all the questions. Is there another one I
Thank you
missed?
very much. I do not believe so, but if there are any other questions, I'm sure they can contact us after. Mr. Gwenga is back. He has one last question,
Okay,
and
thank you.
then we'll wrap up the session. Thank you, sir.
Nkechi, are you talking to me?
Yes. Yes, sir. So you were answering the question before you got locked off about the allocated and unallocated gold.
Okay, all right. The gold is fully allocated. For the gold to come to our vault, they must be owned by either the aggregator or the issuer. So the gold is fully allocated. We are not trading in paper. We are not trading in SKR. What we are trading in is pure gold that have been refined, that have been minted, that met specification. You bring it to the vault. Is when we have it in our custody and it's proving that it belongs to you, that we issue the SKR that be transmitted to the exchange. So we are not dealing in paper, we are not dealing in some instrument. The physical gold must exist, it must belong to you before you can trade in it. So it's important to clarify that. Thank you, Nkechi.
Thank you very much to all our speakers. Thank you, Mr. Akeredolu Ale, the CEO LCFE, to Dr. Orwell, to Mr. Lukenga, to Mr. Kende Hassan, and Mr. John Ugu. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the participants that joined us this morning. We do apologize for going over time, and we know that some questions have not been answered, but in the interest of time, we would like to ask that you please contact us through the contact details available, and your questions will be answered. I will just say one more thing before we go. For the non-capital market investors in our midst and those of us who are joining these kind of sessions for the first time, and you're wondering, how do I get started in investing in the Eko Gold Coin? All trades are done through registered dealing member firms of the exchange, of which GTI is one of them. The exchange has about 43 of them as we speak today. You can go on our website and find the 43 of them and choose your dealing member firm, and they will start the process from there. You can contact the exchange on the contact details in the comment section. We would like to say thank you so much to the GTI team for making this happen. Thank you, Mr. Wenga and Sterling Bank team. To the LCFE team, we see all the questions, but we can't take them right now. So please send us an email, give us a phone call, or just walk down to our office. Our offices, surprisingly, GTI and the exchange are just neighbors in terms of location. So thank you so much for this wonderful session. Thank you to all our facilitators. We look forward to the brand new investors of the Eko Gold Coin. And we know that even as more gold suppliers, more gold aggregators get onboarded on the exchange, the Nigerian gold sector will develop and contribute actively to the Nigerian economy. Thank you so much for a wonderful session, and we will see you next time for another finance talks with the exchange and with GTI when next we do schedule a session like this. So thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nkechi. Thank you, audience.